My guest today is Alan Thompson. He is a founder and CEO of GroeFit.io. It's spelled G-R-O-E, Fit. It's a gym membership management software powered by computer vision technology. It sounds complicated, right? Well, we're going to dive into all of that. So his background includes 10 years in the U.S. Marines, where he says he honed his skills in aviation, to nearly 10 years exploring entrepreneurship. And one thing he says has remained constant is his passion for transforming potential into reality. He also holds an MBA and completed coursework in supply chain engineering at MIT. So today we're going to dive into GroeFit.io. How did that come to be? What does actually GroeFit do? How does it use AI and computer vision to enhance the gym experience and support members' fitness journeys? And a whole lot more. So let's get into it. Okay, Alan, thank you so much for taking the time to be here today. I really appreciate this. It's going to be a fun conversation. As I said to you before we even started, and most people, when they send me their bio, it's very elaborate and it includes everything. And I usually have to scale it down. And you were very modest about what you've done. And so I added to it based on your LinkedIn profile because you've done so much. And I wanted to know, a little bit of background. First, if you could tell me what exactly let's start with just what is GroeFit and how did that even come about?
GroeFit in its current form is a computer vision based gym member management software. And the way it came about is I moved to San Antonio from Japan in 2021. And when I was living in Japan, I fell in love with rock climbing. Mm-hmm. And when I moved to San Antonio, I saw an opportunity for a rock climbing gym. Huge city. There's only 2 bouldering gyms here. So I started looking into that. And in that process, a due diligence process, found out that a larger gym out of Houston called Inspire was going to be getting a great location. And one of the local gyms was planning on expanding. So, looking into the future, I said, okay, it's going to be a lot more competitive than it is now. And by the time I really get traction, these larger gyms are going to be coming into the city and really deteriorating my member base. So what can I do to be competitive? Mm-hmm. I came up with this computer vision concept for rock climbing gyms and just kind of kept building it out conceptually in my head. And then eventually it came up, computer vision came up in a conversation with my climbing buddy, and he started asking a ton of questions. And, I spelled it out for him, or at least the way I saw it. And at the end of it, he said, I think I can build that. And I had no idea what he did. It turns out he has the, technical data science, machine learning background. So we kicked the can around a bit, decided that it wasn't the best fit for rock climbing gyms. And then did some market research and really thought it fit really well for big box gyms. Mm-hmm. And from there, I kept building on the idea of where we could go with it. And eventually it just consumed me and I had no choice. I had to go all in on it.
Can you explain what exactly is computer vision technology? What does that refer to?
It's just using cameras to capture data. In the AI field, they call it deep learning, which is taking video feed and then being able to take that unstructured data, as they call it, and turn it into structured data. Mm-hmm. So that's what computer vision is. Tesla using cameras for vehicles to navigate, and that's probably the best example of computer vision.
And you had explained to me earlier that it's like it would follow people around the gym and sort of get to know what their workouts are and what may be a good program for them. Can you get into that a little bit?
Yeah, it's really just tracking member. There's kind of like 2 value propositions. There's tracking the member behavior and then being able to create a more robust analytics model for the gym owners so that they can better serve those members. Mm-hmm. Whether that's knowing what exercises they're doing, coming up with tailored, individualized workout plans, recognizing, let's say an inexperienced member is using a new piece of equipment and they're having a little bit of trouble. A lot of times they won't ask for help, but with computer vision, we can recognize that and then recognize that as an engagement opportunity for the staff to go help that member. And then the other value prop is more from the facility side, just the gym owners understanding the equipment, how it's getting used, equipment utilization pretty much, more facility-based metrics.
Okay. So with the person, say it's a new person trying out a piece of equipment that they're using incorrectly, would that be in real time? Like, would the person be helped immediately by a staff member, or is this something you'd follow up with later?
It could be either or. The way the software will work is staff will receive an alert, and then they take those alerts for action. But staff are minimal that maybe they're engaged with other members, so maybe they can't take that alert for action. But then it can at least be logged, and then it can be either automated, message sent out, or followed up at a later point.
And would the person know, like, because as I've worked as a personal trainer in gyms as well as in people's homes, a lot of people, if they're not asking for help, they're not like willing to listen. I mean, is this something that they would sign up for, that they would be probably signing some kind of waiver that that the gym has this ability to record, or have you not gotten that far yet with the?
We are working on that, but yes, it would be an opt-in or opt-out model. So the member for the gym's terms and conditions will be updated, and they'll opt in or opt out.
Okay.
More likely it'll be an opt-out methodology where they have to say, like, no, I don't want that. I don't want assistance. I don't, want the camera to track my activity. And then from there, that member would kind of become a ghost for our software, at least.
I would think it would be great for people. I know, January 2nd, right? Everyone swarms the gyms. And I've seen this for so many years. And it's usually the new people don't know. You can always tell because they have the brand new, outfits and shoes and stuff. And they're kind of lost because if you don't know what you're doing and I've seen people get on equipment backwards and stuff, I would think that would be the ideal sort of person to approach, because most of the time they would like some help, but they're, like you said, they're afraid to ask.
I mean, the way we view our software is the biggest value prop is for those new members, people who don't know what they're doing. For big box gyms, 50% of new members quit within 6 months.
Yeah.
And even, I see gyms that have great onboarding experiences. They say, hey, day one, this many touch points, week one, this many touch points, 30 days, 90 days. But I never hear anything outside of 90 days.
Yeah.
And the problem of the 50% new members quitting within 6 months is still there. So that tells me that the member onboarding experience isn't long enough, and that the gym owners don't have a sustainable way to track that member experience journey. So we believe our software will help them with that, extend beyond that 6-month window.
Because the thing is with people working out, I mean, just the workout itself isn't going to be enough for them to keep going. If it's boring, or they, especially if they don't know really what they're doing, and they're obviously not going to be seeing results, and they're just going to quit. And I see that constantly. So I'm wondering too, is there, I was going to say, is there a social aspect? Because what really keeps people in the gym is when they start making friends, and then they're like, hey, let's work out together. I mean, is that going to be any part of this at all, or probably just the analytics, right?
Oh, no, definitely. The community, at the heart of our product is about community. First, creating a system that will help the member establish a relationship with the gym staff, right? And feel like they're seen, they're connected. And then our later phases is more about the member community, member to member, or branding community. So the data that we collect, eventually we want to get to the point where we allow the gym members to connect that data, their data, to a digital character to gamify. So like right now, there's a lot of gamification around heart rate monitoring, which is great, but it's also very limited compared to what you could do with computer vision. If you could use computer vision to gamify the full scope of health and fitness space, there's just so much more you could do with it, and so much more community building ideas that can be generated around it.
Because now I know the gyms I belong to 2 kind of big box gyms, and they have programs where you can go online or even on their app and you can choose classes you want to take or things. So it sounds like it's way beyond that, because that's the person making the decision themselves. So this would be something that is more what they need than what maybe they don't even know what they need, right? If they're not doing something correctly.
Right.
So that seems like a different.
Yeah, it would be definitely a recommendation engine, taking in all the data. Eventually, once we get to that digital character aspect, we would integrate with wearable data. So this would essentially be an avatar that would be representative of the full scope of an individual's health and fitness. And once you have all that data in one spot talking to each other, the insights and recommendations out of that an AI could produce, or a machine learning program like ours could produce, is way more than just someone picking something at random.
Okay. And why did it not work with rock climbing? You said that was where you started and it just didn't work.
Well, rock climbing functions in a 3-dimensional space. So tracking numerous people in a 3-dimensional space gets very computationally heavy.
Okay.
Really quickly. But with our product, we can build iteratively. We can use computer vision as it is now for simple object detection tracking and get a lot of data insights that gym owners aren't using currently, or they don't even have access to. And then we can build the technology iteratively as it's naturally improving in this AI race. So we can kind of ride the AI wave, I think.
Yeah, it's changing so fast. Just this morning, I was listening to a talk show and I got in the middle of a conversation. I don't know who the person was I was talking, but he was talking about on chat, they now have a video. And I mean, this interview will come out in a few weeks, so it'll probably still be pretty new, but it's a video of are you familiar with DALL-E, DAHL, right? So you can like narratively describe what you want, and then you get an image. Now there's one, it's not released to the general public yet, where you can create a video. Like they used examples, and I looked it up, and I forget what it's called. But they had an Asian woman walking down a street in China wearing this, and her backdrop is this. And you look at this and it looks like the real person, like you don't even know.
Yeah. It's called Sora
yes,
AI.
That's it. Yeah.
And when that announcement came out, shortly after, Tyler Perry, the movie producer, he was going to open a new production studio, I think in Atlanta. It was going to be massive production studio. But then Sora AI was introduced, and he cut it. He said, "Nope, okay," because that's going to totally change media and content production.
Yeah. Do you know anything more about it? Like, it's not released to the public yet, right? Because I did look, I didn't see it.
As far as I know, yeah, it's not released out to the public yet. And not just ChatGPT, but all the AI race players, Google, ChatGPT, OpenAI, they're all racing for these products. And Google just had their demo day, which showed a lot of their new AI features as well. But that will also be one of them. I don't know when it's going to be released to the general public, but when it does, it's going to be insane how fast things changes.
I know. I mean, that's the thing, is keeping ahead of this. Like there was, somebody said recently, and with copywriters, you either embrace it or you you're not going to be in the game. I use it for, brainstorming and fine tuning things. And I always have it on because I just throw questions at it and I ask it, because sometimes I write about industries that are foreign to me. And so it gives me a starting point and kind of an outline. But yeah, I can't see if you're not embracing it, how that's going to work for you. But even so, it's interesting. Do you think this is going to be something that gyms are now going to start doing more and more of, like what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think computer vision across many industries is going to start being adopted. You can look at China and, they're obviously heavily embracing computer vision. They use it for their social credit scoring, which I do not agree with and am very adamant against. Mm-hmm. That's part of the reason why I wanted to start getting on, media, is to be transparent and build trust with people. We're not trying to go the China route. If anything, we want to empower people over their data.
So you mean they're collecting data without people's knowledge? Is that what they're doing? Or
China? Oh yeah, China. They have cameras everywhere. They're using facial recognition. If you loiter or litter, somewhere, and the cameras catch you, like that's a ding on your social credit score. And I saw a list. It was crazy. Like, if you spend too much time on like unproductive TikTok videos,
that I think I heard. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a ding on your social credit score. So they're really building a system to keep everyone
in line.
In line. Yeah. Don't waste your time, because I guess they take that as wasting their time. It's quite scary, in my opinion, what China is doing.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I do think computer vision will find its way in many industries because it has so many applications.
Yeah.
Manufacturing will be a big one. Retail or any kind of service. I think there was a video that was released showing using computer vision in a coffee place. I think it was Starbucks. Keeping track of how many cups of coffee each staff member has made, things like that. Now, I don't necessarily agree with like creating a punitive system using computer vision, like, oh, you only created 3 cups of coffee and they did 8, so now you get dinged. I don't think the system should be punitive. It should be used to just capture data to drive intrinsic motivation for staff.
Well, it's like all technology, right? There's going to be people who are going to abuse it. It doesn't matter what it is, robots.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, all of it. And so it's just, I don't know. It's like they say that, the internet, when it first became a big thing, people are like, oh, this is going to be the end of society. It's like, well, for some people, they're going to use it that way, but there's always like the good and then the flip side, but this sounds like a way to really personalize, a person's workouts, and seems like that would be a big motivator for someone who maybe, needs help, because like you said, so many people just quit. So how would a gym member see this? Like they would get a phone call or they would get an email?
Initially, it would be pretty seamless to the gym member, except for the opt-in, opt-out terms and conditions for their gym. Other than that, all they'll see is, oh, the staff are being a lot more friendly and they're engaging with me more, and they know what I'm doing and they're able to give me guidance here and, invite me to this group training class or suggested this personal trainer. So all they'll see is the human to human interaction.
Okay. And as far as like B2B, so selling this to a gym, it would be to like a chain? You'd be selling to the big box chains?
Yeah, that's our end goal, to sell to the big box gyms, because most gym members find their way to fitness through big box gyms. Mm-hmm. I think the last stat I saw was 69 million gym members. I think URSA released a new report recently, and that's higher. But over half of those, let's just say 35, 36 million, are members of big box gyms.
Yeah.
But then if you look at big box gym retention rate, they're 65, 70% compared to a boutique club, which is 80%. So just doing some back of the number calculations, that tells me that there's about 20 million people a year quitting big box gym memberships. And if we can get them up to par with a boutique club, closer to 80%, that means we can keep 8 million people per year committed to living healthier and fitter lives.
Yeah.
So,
And I could see that, yeah, with the boutique, because I've worked in both. And the thing with the big box gym is not only do you not get the attention that you may need if you're a beginner, but you get lost. I mean, there's so many people. And, I belong to one that's so mobbed. I think I mentioned this to you. I go at 5 a.m. on a Saturday and a Sunday morning because it's the only time I can get on the equipment. It's crazy. But I'll do it because I'm up early anyway. But yeah, I've been to some, the smaller ones, they give you the one-on-one attention, but also if you want to get lost, which sometimes I do, because I know what I'm doing, I don't need help. I like the bigger box gyms because I can do my own thing, so it's like a different, it's a whole different thing. But yeah, I could totally see that happening. What, is that how you think, like, well, what do you think is going to be the challenge that you're going to have to overcome with getting a gym, say the big box gym? What do you think is going to be their resistance to something like this?
Well, we've talked to a few kind of C-suite executive levels at the big box gyms. Essentially, like right now, they're saying, hey, it sounds good, but, let me see the product. So that's where we're at. We're still developing the product. So our current kind of ideal is large, independent, multi-chain locations, maybe like 2 to 5, 10 tops, regional, not small, but regional gym locations. And we're working on getting those partnerships now. The roadblock, it could be a lot of things. I went to URSA this past March, and kind of my two big takeaways from talking to gym owners there this past year were COVID has pushed a lot of gyms to tech adoption, and they have a lot of projects in works around tech that they're already trying to adopt. So I guess you could say they already have a lot of irons in the fire, and they're maybe not ready, don't have the resources to take on adding another one. And then another big point that was brought up is they're not sure if their members would want that, right? So I've done polling, and I know older people are pretty adamant against computer vision type products in the gym. But Gen Y, Gen Z, what I found, Gen Y, Gen Z that work out like one time a week, if their gyms offer this software, 70% of them said that they would likely to very likely work out more often. So anytime you have that kind of increase, you increase habit, you change behavior, and that's great for a gym. And that 70%, I found it matches a URSA report, 70%. I forget what the report was called, but the stat was 70% of gym members attribute their loyalty to personalization. So, yeah, I mean, like you said earlier, this is a great way to deliver a more personalized experience. And we think once we get deployed, the retention numbers will speak for themselves.
Yeah, because when I did one-on-one personal training and I went to people's homes, people, for the most part, would stick with it for quite a while. I had people for years, because I mean, there's really no excuse. I'm showing up at your house at 6 a.m. for, the people who were most serious and the ones that stayed with me the longest were the early morning people. The people who were after work, like the 5 o'clock. I had one guy that was, this is when I was first starting to do personal training. So I was really trying to build my clientele. I would work like any hours. I had to show up at his house at like 9 o'clock at night because he worked in the city and I was living in Connecticut. And those are the people that would quit the most because they're tired. They have meetings that run late, and it was always the early morning people, who stayed with it. But it's also that one-on-one, no one going to show up. I mean, but there's been more than one time where, people aren't awake and I'm ringing their doorbell and I'm standing outside with my phone. Hello. And I can hear the phone ringing in the house. And I'm like, I just got up at 5 o'clock to be here. So, either you're paying me for the hour or we're working out. Something's happening. But yeah, so there was that. But what do you think? How do you see the next few years playing out with this sort of technology?
I think it will continue to get adopted. AI for sure. Whether AI is a pretty broad category, so whether it's computer vision, or deep learning, or machine learning, yes, AI will definitely continue to get adopted. Personalization will continue to increase in demand from the consumer side, and any business will continue need to find ways to lower costs, which technology does.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, technology is an unstoppable thing. It's going to happen. So either embrace it sooner or later, and it depends on your call where you are as a business, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it just seems to be accelerating like exponentially, all of this. Is there like a big problem right now within the fitness industry that you see? Like, I mean, we touched on a few things, like, lack of people sticking with it, dropping out. Anything else?
My personal view of the problem with the fitness industry, in general, I think the biggest problem in America has to center around wealth inequality. And I think that is seeping into the fitness industry. And I see, as an outsider, I see a clear division to, luxury, high-end offerings, or, low cost. Mike Hansen, he put a post on LinkedIn where he talked about, those two opposing ends, the high end or low cost, and then the middle. And the middle is where you go to die. Right. That's how he put it. And in a lot of ways, that's true. And, you can extrapolate that out. That's also true for, the middle class America as well. That bifurcation is happening more and more. It's either the very high end or low end, and everything in the middle is dying. But even though that's happening, I think the middle is essential, because without it, you don't have connection. You don't have connection between the 2 points. You just have two very distinct, separate classes that probably hate each other.
What do you think the middle?
I think
what would be the middle in fitness? You have high end, you have low.
Well, big box gyms, LA Fitness, a high volume, low cost model, Gold's Gym, things like that. One thing I found is, some gyms, the HVLC model was like their bread and butter, and they would go on buying sprees, buying up locations to spread that model. But they've stopped doing that, and they're starting to go down this road of, well, let's offer more boutique-like offerings. Let's throw this luxury aspect on it, and this, which gets further and further away from that high volume, low cost model. Yeah. But I think with our software, we can bring, instead of the gym going towards that luxury end, we can bring some of that luxury to the consumers in the middle, by providing a highly personalized and engaging experience. Yeah. That's my goal, at least. Let's see.
Do you have any advice to give to like health and fitness copywriters and marketers who want to communicate the value of this sort of tech to their audiences? Like, how would you suggest they present it to?
I have no ideas. I am still trying to figure that out. Marketing is like my kryptonite. I chose to go the way I'm going because I have no problem putting myself out there and being, vulnerable, if you will, because I'm going to keep pushing forward no matter what and get done. Maybe it's the Marine in me or all my years in the Marine, but I'm going to get done what I set out to do.
Yeah.
Period. Right. So whether I do that behind closed doors or out in the open and look stupid, it doesn't matter. It's going to get done.
That's funny. Yeah, I was going to ask you if your Marine background Like, is that just you learn that kind of discipline and being able to stick with things? Is there anything else you got from it that you carry over to your business?
For the Marines,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll tell you this story. When I woke up one day, I was 23. I said, I'm going to do something different with my life, something I would never do. And I went to go join the Army. So I'm from an Army town, but when I went there, they were closed. And I was like, oh, okay, not meant to be. And so I turned to leave. But the Marine recruiter was there. He called me over. I said, hey, I know you'll say anything to get me to join, but I'll give you the time of day. We go into his office and he's talking to me, and he's putting paperwork in front of me, paperwork after paperwork after paperwork. And he's talking. I get through all the paperwork. I go through it. At the bottom of the paperwork was this simple pamphlet. It was 11 principles of Marine Corps leadership. Mm-hmm. And the last principle in there was take something along the lines of take responsibility for your actions, which resonated so profoundly with me. I was like, I just slammed it on the table and said, I'm in. But the rest of those Marine Corps principles of leadership are also principles that have come to resonate deeply with me. And I carry all of those into how I operate as a business.
Yeah, that makes sense. And they say once a Marine, always a Marine, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I've had friends who are Marines, so I know. Awesome.
When I'm on LinkedIn, sometimes I'll just see random people that shows that they're in the Marine Corps, and I just connect with them just based off that, and then it always works out.
I had a friend who was a Marine. This is back in California, and I used to ask him stories, and he would tell me the craziest stuff that he went through, and it's amazing. And it takes it's discipline and sticking, doing what you say you're going to do, and those are good traits to have for anybody. So, well, thank you so much for taking the time today. Do you where can people find you if they want to learn more about GroeFit and about you?
There's our website, GroeFit.io. Grow is GROE. And then I'm on LinkedIn. My full name is actually Alantheus. That's ALANTHEUS. If you look me up on LinkedIn, with that name, you'll find me. I'm the only one. And yeah, GroeFit is also on LinkedIn. And we just started a X page, but we're not very active on there yet. Pretty much LinkedIn is the best social to find us, me or the company.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. I really appreciate it. This has been very eye-opening.
Right. Well, yeah, thank you. I appreciate the time.